elder said this about waiting: ripeness is all. Well, I guess we're all feeling pretty ripe by now, I guess. We'd like to apologize for the delay, the rain, security, other parades, but here we are. And just look at you. So many people, so many different people from so many places, very different places. Now this, of course, is usually a place of struggle, of competition. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially when the Jays are winning. And they will. This is not Boston. But this afternoon, this is a place of harmony and convergence, of wisdom and compassion and acceptance. And there's a lot to learn, a lot to marvel at. You know, in my profession, the managers have a phrase, dead air. That means silence. Boy, they hate silence. They rush in to fill silence with music or voices or horns or sirens or anything they can think of. But there will be some silence here today. But it won't be dead air, it will be live air. Live air that binds us all, that moves around us and through us, live air that makes us stop. So stop just for a moment and feel live air. Wonderful. Thank you. It's my honor now to introduce a distinguished young Canadian, a teacher and an activist, among other things, the chair of the board of XIYTH, a group that connects other young Canadians to the challenges and the wonder of the country and the world around them. XIYTH, I think, is an example of the very best of Canada, and so is he, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Trudeau.
We live in a deeply troubled world, characterized by mistrust among nations, violence between groups, hatred and intolerance among individuals. All our scientific progress, our technological advances, seem sometimes to just create new ways for us not to get along with one another. And that is one reason it is such a pleasure to introduce someone who knows how to get along just fine with just about everyone. It's a pleasure, but it's also a challenge, because finding the right words to introduce His Holiness proved significantly more difficult than I expected. Our really good words sometimes seem all used up. Love. How strong a word is love when it's so easy to say, I love my shampoo. Freedom is all about the right kind of convertible, or SUV if you happen to live in the Himalayas. Fulfillment, well, that's a word that seems to be linked to the right brand of yogurt. But then I remembered something my father taught me. Paddling across a lake, ruffled by a soft breeze, walking through a sun-dappled forest, just sitting, watching a glorious summer sunset. And that is the value of silence. a moment to think, a pause to plunge into our own depths, an absence of the constant noise with which we've surrounded ourselves, a respite from the constant superficial busyness that assails us throughout our waking hours. Silence seems to be the one luxury we all too often forget to grant ourselves. But now we've gathered by the thousands in silence to listen to His Holiness, to open ourselves to what He's learned during His silences. It's wonderful to have Him visit us here in Canada. We are a country of optimists. Every one of us, or our ancestors, came to this land in search of something better. We cherish hope, compassion, acceptance. We're just not nearly as good at it as He is. We lack the strength to radiate goodness across oceans. We struggle with the logic of being nice to people who hate you. For the most part, we lack the ability to draw pure joy from a nice, bouncy seat cushion. The power of true compassion seems far from us. If the responsibility of each of us is to draw from the knowledge of the world around us and integrate it into our lives, then we would be hard-pressed to find a better source of wisdom. It is with deep humility and simple joy that I have the honor of welcoming His Holiness, the Dalai Lama.
바로 부모님 주위에 그거야. I think my voice and I think good evening for everybody. Dear brothers and sisters, I am extremely happy. This was a short moment. We together, as human brothers and sisters. I think although many of you, perhaps I think first time, meet or listen, but irrespective whether we know each other before or not, we are the same human being. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. So on that level, I think we all have same potential of good or potential of bad. So suppose we are, as a human being, more intelligent sort of mammal. So the important, they utilize our intelligence and make distinction, what is good, what is bad, mainly for long run. And then through that way, utilize our good potential for good oneself as well as for the other. And those negative potential, knowing that, and try to minimize. Of course, each human being, each of us, no one are perfect. Some negative things always there. But at the same time, we also, no one 100% bad. So, I think almost our own choice. If you want one person, sometimes without knowing or out of ignorance, sometimes due to short-sightedness and deliberately doing something, going wrong, wrong direction. So that is sad. In spite good potential, we leaning way, more negative side. That's almost like self-destruction. So, basically, we all want happy life, happy days and nights. Even dream, want more happy dream. So that is, I think, our natural sort of desire for happy, successful, but including long life. So, now my sort of main sort of interest or concern is, since everyone wants happy life and everyone have every right be a happy person, whether there is God or not, whether there is previous life or not. The fact is, we are here. We have this desire. We have this experience or feeling. Even animals, they don't bother. They don't know what is the past, what is future, but their day-to-day life, one happy life. So we also have the same. So now for that, I think at the beginning, I may mention some background. Our the happy life or successful life, it not come independently or come without cause. No. Every event comes due to its own causes and conditions. So successful life, happy life, also entirely depend on the causes and the conditions. So similarly, pains and problems also happen because of causes and conditions. So law of causality is something nature. So now I think the animal, perhaps I think usually they experience the result. They are not much, because of the lack of intelligence, not much sort of, let's say, of course my English bad, and now getting older, my English also getting older. So sometimes my physical needs a little help. So similarly, my English also needs a little help from him. 저는 알디 저 튼주리가 지금 소샤리 그때 시작 남주 메링 리디기 동네 메드가 대원대원이 요리 동네에 유야 지금 대원 터는이 대지수 육대야 요리디 이네 뒤 주드년 삼동에 시작이야 말 최색 다 뒤에 천부심마도 뒤 다르고 삼등 말라.
As I mentioned earlier, the animals too share this basic aspiration to seek happiness and overcome suffering. And driven by that desire, they also pursue to fulfill this aspiration. But the difference is that, unlike human beings, because animals do not possess the power of intelligence and imagination that we have, that they are not able to look deeper into the causes and conditions that give rise to pain and suffering.
Therefore, I think in human society, since I think as the human, I think since many centuries ago, you see, humans realize it is important to utilize human thinking power. So therefore, the script happen, language, more sophisticated language, and with that, writing, and then through that way, education. Everybody knows education is so important. But what is the purpose of the education? Not just mere knowledge, but something good for happier life. Now in modern time, I think everybody aware or observed. Sometimes there are some people who have very good education, but not necessarily a very happy one. Sometimes it's education, brought more sort of thinking power and the more imagination or visions, more hope, more expectation, and then all expectation difficult to materialize, then a lot of sort of worry, a lot of suspicion. So education alone, not as a guarantee for a happier life. So, judging from that, another element in our mind, which is, I'll say, the foundation of happy life. I think the education is something like instrument. So that instrument can use either way, some positive, or some constructive, or destructive. I always try to share the basic human values is very important element in order to achieve a happier life. So now, wherever I go, I always keeping in my mind my sort of what's a first commitment or my interest is promotion of human value. Then second, promotion of religious harmony. Because religion also supposed to bring happier life or happier human society, the happier humanity. But sometimes religion itself causing more trouble. So that's, I don't think that religion itself is something wrong. But again, the people properly sort of follow or properly practice religion. If we utilize religion properly, seriously, sincerely, then all religion have the same potential to make better person. So the harmony among the different traditions is extremely important in order to bring more happier humanity. So these two things, I always sort of feel important. So now tonight, here, so many people come. Again, I want to give you some kind of warning. If you come with great expectation, that's not good. I have nothing to offer to you, nothing. Just empty few words. So perhaps I think the person who speaks to you, that person, although as I mentioned earlier, 100% sort of similar, same, but little differences. One way because of age. Now nearly 69. And then more important, since around 15, 16 years, then eventually lost freedom. Then around 24, lost one's own country. majority of my life now spent outside my own country, live as a refugee. And moreover, many people, Tibetan, inside as well as outside, they put a lot of hopes and trust to me, on my shoulder. But the problem or the responsibility and the person, I usually describe myself as a simple Buddhist monk. That's very true. I study, some study about Buddhist sort of philosophy or Buddhist texts. But during those years when I studied, I was rather, a very lazy student. So my knowledge, even that field, limited. But then, of course, some others, field, like mathematics or world history or geography, these things, my knowledge is almost zero. So therefore, you see, the person who have no modern education and no experience how to deal with problem, then from young age having this sort of great burden, responsibility. I think that according to my own experience, I think when life becomes difficult and facing various different kind of problems, under that circumstances, if you keep your determination, your willpower, and keep hope, the tireless effort, then the difficult period or obstacles, problems, really very, very helpful to gain deeper experience, wider knowledge. So therefore, I have some, experience through difficult period. Then during those sort of years, I noticed material things useless. Of course, the previous Dalai Lama was not a millionaire, but still, you see, some sort of possessions. I think like 13th Dalai Lama is some like a pocket watch, like that. But when I leaving Lhasa, nothing. Even if there is some materials there, the mental worry, difficulties, you cannot remove by material, material facility. Then also, just a mere knowledge, not much helpful. But during those years, I think most effective, I may call most reliable my friend is my own, inner quality, compassion. This, now I realize, inner quality, compassion, really brings some inner strength. And compassion also also brings truthful. When you have truthful, you have more self-confidence. With self-confidence, you can deal any problem without losing hope or determination. I'm truthful, nothing to hide. And whether the other immediately agree or not, you have full confidence. So, I think warm-heartedness, I feel, most precious thing. Now my topic, the power of compassion. I think individual level, as I mentioned, compassion is really very, very useful. And also I think compassion, now I think firstly I make clear what is compassion. Some kind of closeness feeling with respect to other. Right? So compassion is not like feeling of pityness. Right? Close feeling, sense of concern with respect. Then closeness feeling with respect, sometimes even loving sort of or loving affection. They are also there. But then difference is compassion is not based on others' attitude towards oneself. The loving affection, right?
Ordinary love. Ordinary love or affection. In the case of ordinary love or affection, often there is a self-regarding basis for it. And also it depends upon how the other person responds to you and what their attitude to you is. And you tend to have an affection to someone because that person is someone to you, someone important to you.
So therefore, that kind of closeness feeling cannot go towards your enemy, because enemy showing a negative attitude towards you. So instead of closeness feeling, but distance feeling usually come. Now the compassion, genuine compassion is not sort of basis on the other's attitude towards oneself, but rather the other also, just like myself, want happy life, successful life, do not want suffering. So on that recognition, on that sort of basis, then develop sense of concern. So that kind of feeling can go towards your enemy. Enemy, as far as their attitude towards oneself, is negative. But they also sentient being, human being, in most cases human being. So they also want happy life, do not want suffering. So, knowing that and develop some sense of concern. That's genuine compassion. So compassion is unbiased. The usual sort of, ordinary love is biased. And also ordinary love, I think, they're much sort of mixed with attachment. Attachment, like many other afflicted emotion, its essential nature is some form of ignorance, not realistic. The particular attitude based on mental projection. The reality, not that bad, but you exaggerate it. Right. Then develop hatred. Or 100% the reality, some good thing there, but exaggerated. The 100% of something beautiful or something good, then the attachment comes. So, these afflicted emotion actually they are based on appearances, not the reality. As for compassion is concerned, I think compare that. I think compassion is really goes according to the reality. So big differences. Then also we always talking about peace or non-violence. Peace, not just a mere absence of violence, but peace is something full. So I think the peace really related with compassion. Therefore, peace, almost like I think, or expression of compassion. So long compassion there, where there is compassion there, peace automatically comes. Where hatred there, opposite, violence, sooner or later will come. So now, that's about compassion. Now the question, whether we can develop that kind of compassion, certainly yes. Because Sangha mi hengi rangshin di chigla tene tsokwa chi. Dan di chigla tene tsokwa ya ne su sai shu di chung chung gam duwa ma ngen ma zai ne eni lo she chi ring la da xian da de ne tsokwa ya di ne su sai shu cha ri da di ge la pen jun zao di shu shu duwa zao de men so duwa.
The question then is it possible at all for us to cultivate such a compassion? And certainly the answer would be yes. And one of the premise of that is to really understand the very nature of human existence, because we all possess the seed of compassion. And also, if we examine carefully, we will understand that our very survival as human beings, especially in the first few years of our existence, is heavily dependent upon others' affection and others' compassion.
So I think biologically, you see, I think on the basis of biological factor, since you see, our existence or survival depend on other, so under that circumstances, the feeling of intimacy or closeness feeling develop. So, I think you can sort of further investigate some animal like a turtle or butterfly or some other sort of species of animals. Mother just lay down the egg, then never meet mother and their children, or I don't know, the proper word, I don't know. So these, like turtle's mother and their offspring, I think put together, I don't think, because of the biological sort of nature is such, since they never, the young turtle never depend on mother, therefore, I don't think they have the ability to show affection. Now here, we belongs those category like dog or cat depend on mother's milk. So the milk is, I think, the almost I feel sign of or symbol of compassion. And our first day, first our action of our life, children's sight, they, even I, without sorrow, when I born, my elder sister later told me, one eye closed, one eye open. So in any way, I think some child, I think I may close, but by nature, try to find the mother's, what do you call this one, little one. They go like that. These animals, like dogs, baby dog, close eye, but they know. So there's nature. So mother side also, close, very, very sense of concern, closeness feeling there. Because that need in order to survive. I think we are here, I think everybody, we survived up to now because at the beginning, mother's care, or someone else's care. If that time, 1 day or 2 days neglected, we die. So this, I think, all are biologically, all the similar sort of the species all have that because of the biological. Now we human beings, we can prolong, extend, that closest feeling. Animal, after a few months, then no longer that kind of feeling. But we human beings use human intelligence, and through that way we can extend whole our life. Then I think in modern time, look, the reality of the world. Due to population, due to technology, and also due to modern economy, the world become heavily interdependent, interconnected. So judging from that way, world becoming much smaller. So under that, I think according to that reality, now I think the very concept of we and they no longer there. They also part of we. We also part of they. Look, now Canada, geographically so isolated, but Canada's sort of interests depend on outside world. The politically or ideologically, some cases religiously, different. Even little negative attitude one another in economy field or environment field, they have to work together. They have to live together. So that's the reality. So the power of compassion, I feel here on international relations, I think very, very relevant. Another thing, today, I think every day, almost I think every day, every media brings some news of killing, some sort of bloodshed. And also this, what called a terrorist. Fearful, sometimes quite really fearful. But then, what is wrong? What went wrong? As I mentioned before, these events not come without causes or conditions, with causes, conditions. And some causes are not, I think, created within this century. No, in previous 20th century. And some of the events, even today, we are facing, I think the causes, due to our negligence in 18th century, 19th century, 20th century. And sometimes, unfortunately, some cases deliberately try to increase negative emotion. So these are the causes, conditions of many problems which today we are facing. Now, best way to face this bloodshed, violence, cannot solve by violence. Violence, firstly, I think it is very nature. One of its nature is very, very unpredictable. Although you start with sort of certain, goal or certain sort of limitation or limited violence, you start. But then it is often it become out of control. Right. So that's the violence, one I think the unique nature, unpredictable. Then secondly, violence means suppress or destroy other. So the violence actually creates more hatred in others' mind. So that's seed of another problem, future problem. So I think in ancient time, concept of war, I usually feel like legalized violence. War in ancient time, when the reality, nation to nation or country to country, they're independent, not depend on another, then that time, destruction of your enemy is victory of yourself. But now today, as I mentioned earlier, the new reality is everything interconnected, interdependent. Under that circumstances, the very concept of war now out of date. It cannot, cannot carry. So destruction of your enemy is destruction of yourself. So therefore, now only thing is, since the other also part of yourself, therefore, when we find some conflict, some different interest, different opinion, then the best way to solve that through dialogue. No other way. You must respect others' interest, others, what's it, others or interest or others or, desire, and you have to make a compromise. Because you cannot neglect others' interest, because ultimately you will suffer. So you must take care about others' interest. So the best way is a dialogue. So I think I often see telling audience, 20th century, whether we like it or not, history shows 20th century was century of violence. It becomes century of violence. Now, through that sort of experience, now we learned through violence, we cannot solve the real problem. So the only way to solve is peaceful solution, right? Peaceful resolution. So therefore, now this century, now new century, 21st century, should be century of dialogue. Now for that, we need determination, patience, wider perspective. Right? So now here, compassion, I think, has a very important role. Firstly, as I mentioned before, compassion brings us self-confidence. And also, compassion brings us deep respect or recognition of others' right. And also, compassion gives us peace mind or calm mind. Within calm mind, you can see reality more clearly. When your mind dominated by effective emotion, you can't see the reality. Then often decision may go wrong. So compassion compassion very, very, helpful in order to see reality, and in order to see more holistic view. So therefore, compassion on international relations, I think compassion has a very important role. I wish our leaders, our leaders, of course, I respect all these leaders, but sometimes I think you also may feel, our leaders should have more compassion. Then maybe I think the millions of innocent people then may get more peace. In many years, I think now more than 30 years ago, one occasion in India, one day, one function, one function, one chief minister, West Bengal's chief minister, I think his name, Siddharth or something. He also there, and he as a politician, he sort of, I think, as a Nimjung Chevy, Nimjung Sorbazo, Kada Kim Yu Cheche, Tanganzu Chelsea in Church in my
At this official function, there was an Indian official from West Bengal, and as a politician, on his part, it was probably an act of humility. But at this meeting, which was a discussion on ethics and spirituality, and he said, "I am a politician, and as a politician, I do not know much about spirituality and ethics."
Then I mean, sort of with joke, I challenge him. Oh, politicians need more ethics, moral ethics, more spirituality. Whereas those, practitioners who remain in remote area, religious practitioner who remain in isolated way or remote area, then these individual goes something wrong here, doesn't matter, not much effect. But then leaders, politicians, their mind a little something happen, that is really very dangerous. I think one pamphlet, I wrote many years ago, I expressed our world leaderships, if possible, somewhere, some nice place, all leaderships come together without talking any sort of complicated issue. Just spend a few days and with their children, with their wife, and make known each other, make friends, some funs, some play, not talking about these complicated issues. Then knows each other as a human being and with their children as a human brothers sisters. Children are really sometimes very innocent, very open, very sincere. So like that, once they know each other as a friend, then difficult issue can solve through friendly manner, through understanding about other sort of thinking. So therefore, now compassion, I think, something very relevant in global level. Then the animal right. Now, animal rights, environment issue. As I mentioned earlier, compassionate attitude give us, or compassionate attitudes, I think, open our inner, some obstacle. I feel strong attachment or hatred. These some obstacle to see the reality. So with effective emotion, holistic attitudes, difficult to develop. So the compassion really helpful to bring calmness inside, calm, peace, mind. Through that way, you can see the reality more clearly, more holistic. So regarding environment issue and also animal rights, I think compassion is very important role. Then in modern economy and science, I think in every human activities, in order to be humanized, in order to be constructive and less negative consequences for long run, I think compassionate mind is very, very important as a factor. Then family level, more, as I mentioned earlier, compassion, not just some closeness feeling on the basis of just a physical attraction, but much deeper respect other. I think the marriage in the family, I think the marriage on the basis of clear respect the other couple, other partner. No. Then, of course, some disagreement, some fightings, maybe sometimes you use nail, little, but doesn't matter. It's still keep sort of genuine, the feeling of one family. I think like when I was small, very young, I think 4 years, 5 years, my elder brother, then when I was, I think, around 4 years, his age 6 years. So 1 year differences, or 2 years differences. So sometimes we fight. So my best weapon is my nail. So on his cheek, I usually do that. But that few moments we crying and do like that, and my brother always crying. I think it's really unjust. Younger brother bullying elder brother. But you see, without losing our genuine sort of respect or closeness feeling. So I think if you have genuine sort of compassionate attitude to one another, then family level also I think much happier. Even some differences come, go. Then community level. So therefore, finally, I want to share. I believe compassion is not religious, a religious matter. But sometimes some people who have the impression that compassion, forgiveness, these are religious matter. So someone who have no special interest about religion, then they also neglect completely about these things. I think that's a mistake. Whether we accept religion, whether we believe religion or not, that's a different matter. That's up to individual. But so long we are human beings, so long we are in the humanity, in this world, these, I think, these deeper values are very necessary. No point to neglect. Everybody making every effort for material development. It's absolutely right, necessary. But meantime, if we neglect our inner world or inner values, you can't be a happy person. Therefore, we must combine material development with internal human values. These values I usually call secular ethics. Secular, some my friends interpret secular means reject, right? Reject or religion. I think understanding, according to my India's constitution based on secular sort of idea. So secular means here not rejection of religion, but rather respect all religion. No sort of discrimination among religion. So that's secular. And not necessary be a religious sort of believer. So the secular means respect all religion and also respect non-believer. We all same human being. So respect, love, develop central concern. So I think that's important. We should know that these basic human values are secular ethics in order to have happier life, happier family, happier community, finally happier world. We need these inner quality. Thank you. Now some questions. I think as a conclusion, those people who feel these points which I mentioned, if you feel little interest, then think more. The other day I mentioned our brain here, this like inner space, very limited, small inner space, this used as a laboratory, and think more, experiment. No need sophisticated machines, just use this. And in a way, not expensive. And then, and also I think if you carry more experiment within our own inner space laboratory, nobody pay to you. That's perhaps unfortunate. If we carry work in big laboratory, you get a lot of pays. But if you use this, nobody pay. But okay, doesn't matter. So if you feel some interest, then think more seriously. But if you, other hand, if you feel these my points are nonsense, then forget it. No problem. No worry. Yeah. Thank you.
What is the biggest problem facing humanity today? And next question seems to be somewhat related. Why does it seem that there is more negativity in the world right now than positivity?
I believe one, I think, the long run serious sort of problem is, I think, human population. Now, too many population, and especially in what we call third world, I think basically this is a gap, rich and poor, on the global level. This gap is very serious. And within the nation, now for example, Canada, as I understand, the first nation, right? I think their economy, their education, still is more sort of, lagging. So then America was the richest nation, with its own capital, Washington, and in the city, there are many poor people, especially among the black people. There's a this gap within the nation, rich and poor. In India also, some are billionaire, but poor people in the street or in the countryside. So I often used to telling my Indian friend, India's real transformation must take place in rural area, not in few big cities. So therefore, the huge gap, rich and poor, this I think not only morally wrong, but practically also source of problem. So we must address properly. And then environmental issue. So all these ultimately lead with our population. So smaller number and a good quality. I think that, I feel like that. Then another aspect, I do not agree, world becoming more problem. I do not believe that. I think these impression, happen because you just seen locally. Like media people always sort of bring the news. So news, I think killing or scandal or some negative thing, these in human mind, something unnatural. Right? Almost, I think, unnatural. Therefore, this brings, shock. And it will become news. Whereas, millions of people getting care out of compassion, loving kindness. Look, millions of children getting real, compassionate care. Then sick people, then old people. I think today, no question, the rule of hatred in this world, of course, some extent there. But I think the rule of kindness, rule of compassion is much, much bigger. No question. If we human beings really negative, aggressive, negative, ruthless, then today I think no need any worry of population. But I think taking care is more stronger than elimination. Therefore, population problems now facing. So if you look broadly or holistically, I think, firstly, human nature is more gentle, more compassionate. As I mentioned these things before. Then secondly, today, I think because of our experience, because of our education, and because of our personal contact. Now, for example, the other day also I mentioned one my friend, one German physicist, great physicist, von Weizsäcker. Now his age almost 90, 91 or something like that. I know him because I got some sort of lesson, a few lessons from him regarding quantum physics. So I have keen interest about quantum physics. But I think I will tell you about the reality. You see, when I listen with great enthusiasm and with respect, that old professor, when I listen, it seems I understood something. But then, as soon as I finished the lesson, nothing left. So the professor, great teacher, but his student, hopeless student. I know him. So therefore, one time he told me, when he was young, every German's eye, French is bad enemy. Now, within his lifetime, nowadays, in every German's eye, or maybe few, but otherwise, generally, in German's eye, French is just a neighbor. It's just a friend. Nothing difference, nothing distance. So this is I think today's world now changing. And also look, in I think the previous century, like First World War, Second World War, when these immeasurable violence, happen, millions of people suffer. Then, at that time, I think when nation declare war, nobody resistance or nobody sort of put questions. What is the government policy? But nowadays, I think since Vietnam War, now I think a citizen has always put a big question. Violence is really necessary? That kind of attitude now very, very strong. And then recently, when Iraq crisis about to happen, how many people, millions of people, is to come out from Australia up to, I think, America, here, North America. I think millions of people now express they want peace, not violence. I think these are really the sign of maturity. Yeah. Mature. Then ecology. In early part of 20th century, nobody showing concern about ecology. Nobody recognized we have another responsibility to take care of the planet. Now today, many people are really now showing this serious concern about the environment. Now these are, I think, the sign of hope, sign of progress, sign of more compassion. So therefore, I think no sufficient, if we analyze, I think world, becoming better and better and better because of our past experience, difficult experience. Now we are getting, becoming more mature. This is my feeling. So still, no point to neglect. We must make effort with self-confidence, with long vision. That's, I think, very important. Yeah.
Along with compassion, what other qualities do you feel humanity needs to demonstrate to achieve happiness?
Knowledge in order to see the reality. I feel as the most important is realistically approach, where compassion brings us more realistic attitude. Negative emotion, which you call effective emotion, as I mentioned earlier, usually you see they becoming problem to see the reality. Then I think another way to explain, the all level, appearance on all level, often differences appearance and reality. I think in deeper way, now we can say this flower since yesterday or since since last week, this flower already there. We say that. But reality appears like that. But reality, yesterday's flower already gone. Even when I start my talk, at that time, the flower no longer here, momentarily changing. Even microscope level, we can see momentarily changing. So that's the reality. But appearance, not that way. So, differences, reality and appearances. So every level is a gap, reality and differences, appearances. So negative emotion, it seems, I think, much based on appearances, not the reality. The positive emotion, more, I think, related closer with the reality. Perhaps I think let us think, I think we can pray or wish all human beings, all sort of sentient beings on this planet should be happy. That kind of, I think, prayer, that kind of wish, I think we can properly develop, and that kind of sort of mental attitude eventually become so sort of strong feeling can develop. But here, no need to know every human being, but just all human beings want happiness. Therefore, pray to all fellow human beings and all sentient beings should be happy. Okay. But then hatred, I think difficult to develop some kind of wish. All human beings should suffer. I don't think. Some kind of hatred cannot develop sort of invisible humanity. Because these effective emotions need independent target. One individual, bad, so bad, and that towards that independence of target, absolute independent target, then develop hatred. These negative emotions or attachment. Attachment need some object to catch. And hatred must have some independent object to hate. So, the positive emotion, such as good wish, compassion, no need independent absolute target, but all sentient being, like that you can develop more holistically. Effective emotion, not that way. So much depend based on appearances, other reality. So this is, I think, big differences. Now we need further sort of investigate or analyze.
Where do you get all your energy from?
I think at a physical level, good sleep, at least 7 hours, sometimes 9 hours or 10 hours. Then naturally, as a Buddhist monk, usually afternoon, no solid sort of food. So next morning, always feel hungry. Almost like, because a hungry ghost, right? So, very heavy breakfast. I think, of course, these are matter. But then, I think mental level. I cannot claim I have sort of real peace in my mind. But I think comparatively, I think some certain amount of peace of mind, I think, yeah. So when some very saddening or heartbreaking news will come, and a short moment even sort of so bad, so sort of sad, sometimes tears will come, but that come from this year, then a short while remaining here, then goes from here. So perhaps I think something like, sometimes I feel like ocean, wave comes, always comes, comes and goes. But underneath, ocean always remains calm. That I think one method. The emotions come, go. Here, I think one technique, I think some experience about consciousness. Consciousness looking by another consciousness. So that eventually get experience. Viewer, Tagenda, Tasa. Shiva Jig Daya de those Komaina, Taji Shiva Jida, Tase Shiva Jig, Yudi using Shiva Jig, Yudi Jinichi, Church.
One technique that could be helpful is to cultivate a certain habit of being able to watch one's own thought processes. And when you are able to do that, then you have the ability to observe what occurs in your mind so that you are not totally immersed in that actual experience.
Usually, when we develop attachment or anger, and whole our mind or whole self now becoming like anger. Actually not that. So you see, once you gain some experience, then when actually anger develops, then you try separate and look anger. That very helpful to see the false or negativeness of anger or these negative emotions. During that moment, usually, of course, we can have the recognition or awareness of the destructiveness of anger. But during anger develop, during that moment, usually difficult. But through training, you can do. Anger comes at the beginning, yourself almost is like one. But then you can look to anger. Then immediately the intensity of anger reduces. So now here, when sadness happens, try to look from the separate from the sadness. I think that's one way. I think through training, through habituatory,
through cultivation of habit.
So that possible is to do. So that I think one way the thoughts, emotions should come. But consciousness, basic consciousness or self remain there. Without much, when you make separation, then disturbance less. Some sense? What do you think? Some sense? Yes. Now last question.
How can we help you to go home? How can we help you to go home?
I think buy one ticket from here to Peking to Lhasa. But then the reality more complicated. So of course, now I think this is since as I mentioned earlier, the Tibetans really put a lot of hopes and trust on me. I consider myself here as a free spokesman for Tibetan people. So, last more than 45 years, my physical outside Tibet, but the Tibetan people, they recognize my presence outside is something useful to them. So now things, the situation inside Tibet. Once situation begin to change, and the opportunity to serve Tibetan people, as well as Chinese people, Chinese brothers and sisters. As a Buddhist monk, no differences. Whether Chinese, whether Tibetan, whether Indian, whether European, whether African, no differences. So, because they trust me, so suddenly I have moral responsibility to serve them, but need certain degree of freedom. Without that, not much use. So now it's a Tibet situation. If you look Tibet situation today locally, then very, very difficult. Sometimes almost looks hopeless. But Tibet is now part of sort of People's Republic of China. Tibet controlled by People's Republic of China. Now China, People's Republic of China is part of Asia, part of the world. And not only part of the world, but also important part of the world. So China is changing. Today's China, compared 20, 30 years ago, much changed. Still in the full speed of change or process of change. So, judging from broader sort of say, broader picture, then there is real hope. Particularly my approach regarding solution of Tibet problem. My approach is mutually agreeable solution, not separation, not independence, but remain within the People's Republic of China and should have meaningful self-rule or autonomy, which actually in Chinese constitution provided. So meaningful implementation of the autonomy. That's my dream. I think that's very possible. Now large number of Chinese people, especially among the intellectuals and the thinkers, and even some artists, and also among the businessmen, among the Chinese, now more and more people now showing genuine, I think, understanding about Tibetan problem and showing genuine concern. They begin to realize the proper solution of Tibetan issue is interest of People's Republic of China as a whole. I think obviously now that huge country, most populated nation, now this moment, now as a day, passing through as a transition period. This transition must be peaceful, smooth, with stability. If some dramatic sort of situation, if something total sort of, a change or something happen, then I think too much chaos situation may happen, even bloodshed. That's nobody's interest. So smooth transition is good for everyone. Therefore, if you use common sense, I think my approach, at least for Tibet issue, is helpful to peaceful, stable sort of transition. This implication, Hong Kong people, and also East Pakistan or Xinjiang people, and some other sort of ethnic people, usually is physically controlled, tight but mentally not so happy. So I think all these problems, I think the Tibetan, wisely handled the Tibetan issue. The implication reached a larger area. Ultimately, the Taiwan issue also related. So, and also the relation with India. So therefore, my approach, not sort of disintegration of people from China, but more unite, more stable from within, not from control. So that's my way of approach. So therefore, I think only question of time. I think things will change. But meantime, I appreciate all our friends and supporters in many places of the world are really showing your serious concern about us. So showing your deep sort of sympathy and concern and to do something, not only just word, but want to do something, practical action. So I very much appreciate. We need your help. Thank you.
you